This is the Moon Wolf King. At that moment, space itself seemed to freeze because of that sentence. The three members of Blood Wolf stood there dumbfounded, mouths agape, eyes fixed unblinkingly on the small wolf inside the cage. In a shadowy corner of the carriage, someone trembled almost imperceptibly. The Moon Wolf King, the legendary Moon Wolf King, now appeared alive before their eyes. And this seemed to be a newborn moon wolf cub? That's right, a cub. The wolves outside came to find their king. It must be because the savage blood wolves sensed the hidden aura of the Moon Wolf King, which is why they rushed from afar to rescue it. With this breakthrough realization, everything became clear in Liu Feng's mind. Damn it, we've been played like fools and even turned into cheap scapegoats. After understanding the full situation, Liu Feng was furious. Suddenly stepping forward, he grabbed Hua An, whose face showed a hint of madness, and kicked him hard in the stomach. Hua An was sent flying backward by the immense force, sliding down the corner of the carriage and collapsing onto the floor. Unable to withstand the heavy blow, he spat out a mouthful of blood. After kicking Hua An away, Liu Feng's right leg shot out again like lightning, striking a curtain behind him. A black shadow was sent flying and slammed heavily against the carriage wall. The shadow was Yinger, who had attempted an assassination upon seeing Hua An injured. Coughing lightly, a small mouthful of blood dampened her black veil. Her large eyes stared stubbornly at Liu Feng, whose killing intent was growing stronger as he approached. It seems I told you there wouldn't be a third time, didn't I? Liu Feng crouched down, his tone turning cold. Yinger said nothing, remaining stubborn. True energy quietly gathered at his fingertips, as if he were truly about to kill the girl before him. Despite sensing the killing intent emanating from the young man, Yinger did not waver. Her black veil fluttered slightly as a dry, unpleasant voice sounded from beneath. I will defeat you. Use your real voice. I hate that tone. Liu Feng frowned slightly and said coldly. A trace of confusion flashed across Yinger's eyes. What does it have to do with you, how I speak? Of course, she wasn't foolish enough to say it out loud. I will defeat you. A clear yet cold voice came again from beneath the veil. Liu Feng raised an eyebrow and lowered his head. The two were so close they could feel each other's breath. Yinger panicked slightly and shrank back. What are you doing? Seeing her flustered look, Liu Feng sneered. I just want to see how ugly the face under your veil is that you don't dare show all day. His right hand reached forward, trying to pull off the thin black veil. Ah! Panic finally appeared in Yinger's stubborn eyes. She cried out and pressed her body tightly against the carriage wall, clutching the veil with both hands. Seeing this, Liu Feng curled his lips slightly, his voice turned cold again. But this time, it wasn't directed at the girl, but at Hua An in another corner. Have you pretended enough? I know exactly how much force I used. At most, I just made you spit out some excess blood. Liu Feng's cold voice snapped the three stunned men back to their senses. After a brief moment of thought, they quickly understood the situation. Blood Wolf took a deep breath, clenching his fists, clearly suppressing immense anger. Death Prisoner remained expressionless, but his eyes burned with fury, his claw-like hands making cracking sounds. Violent Steel, like Blood Wolf, took a deep breath trying to suppress his anger, but damn it, I can't hold it in. With a roar, he charged forward, his iron fist slicing through the air as it smashed toward Hua An. Unlike Liu Feng, Violent Steel had no control over his strength. If that quench landed, Hua An would undoubtedly die. Not far away, Yinger no longer cared about the dangerous young man before her and let out a piercing scream. Don't! The fist howled with force, pressure rippling through the air. Just as everyone thought tragedy was inevitable, Violent Steel shifted his punch and slammed it heavily into the carriage wall beside Hua An. The carriage shook violently under the impact before stabilizing again. Violent Steel panted heavily and glared fiercely at Hua An. Don't think I wouldn't kill you. Even if your Hua Gold Merchant Guild is powerful, I've crawled out of piles of corpses. Damn it. Seeing this, Yinger let out a heavy sigh of relief. Her body moved, activating a thief's stealth technique, preparing to slip into a corner. Liu Feng smirked slightly. His right hand suddenly reached out and grasped at the air. A small piece of black veil appeared out of nowhere and fluttered to the ground, followed by a soft gasp. You? Your veil was dirty. I helped you take it off. Liu Feng walked over to Violent Steel, pulled him up, and coldly smiled at Hua An, who still hadn't moved. Still not getting up? If you don't want to, I can help you, permanently. His tone was filled with killing intent, showing his complete disgust for the cunning old man. Hua An's body trembled slightly. After a moment, he shakily got to his feet. His aged face was filled with despair. Now that you know what we're transporting, will you still continue the mission? Blood Wolf sneered. Old man, have you lost your mind? Do you know what you're transporting? That's the Moon Wolf King, not some ordinary cub. Right now, only the savage blood wolves are outside. The Moon Wolf King's royal guards, the blood silver wolves, haven't even appeared yet. Continue the mission. You want us dead? Ah, ooh. A resounding wolf howl suddenly echoed from outside the carriage. This howl was completely different from the savage blood wolves. It carried an air of pride. The blood silver wolves have arrived. A murmur echoed softly in the carriage. What appeared before them was a sea of blood red, massive wolves tinged with silver scattered across the ground. The surrounding wolf pack had stopped attacking. They moved forward with reverent steps, gathering behind the blood silver wolves. Then they raised their heads and howled. The sound of wolves echoed across the sky. As 10,000 wolves surged forward, all beasts fled. Any magical beast that heard the howl immediately ran in panic, fleeing in the opposite direction. 10,000 of 6th-tier blood silver wolves and hundreds of thousands of savage blood wolves. Such a force could easily destroy an empire. This terrifying force silently gathered on the grassland. Liu Fang's expression turned slightly ashen, and the three commanders didn't look much better either. But honestly, anyone who saw the massive wolves covering the ground wouldn't be in a good mood. 3 commanders, go gather all the mercenaries from the other areas. Bring them together, at least we can hold out a bit longer. From what I see, they're planning a frontal assault. The 3 commanders nodded helplessly. That's the only option. A brief silence followed. Violent Steel suddenly spoke softly. Could it be there's another Moon Wolf King? His quiet voice sounded like thunder. In that small space, the air seemed to freeze. Liu Fang was the first to break the silence, letting out a light laugh. Don't be so pessimistic. He paused, then saw their still dejected expressions and couldn't help but get slightly annoyed. Do you really need to be this scared? You're all people who've crawled out of piles of corpses, and now you care this much? Don't you realize you're the backbone of your groups? If you lose your nerve, who's going to fight the wolves? His string of words gradually straightened their backs. By the time he finished, their faces were slightly flushed. They laughed awkwardly, but the fear in their hearts had been cast aside. Damn right, we've crawled out of death so many times. What's there to run from? Bloodwolf slapped Liu Fang's shoulder hard and laughed loudly. Feeling the force from that large hand, Liu Fang rolled his eyes in annoyance. Revenge. This is blatant revenge. Don't worry, even if there really is another Moonwolf King, I can still get you out of here. Liu Fang smiled faintly. Though his tone was calm, it carried undeniable confidence. The 3 commanders exchanged glances, unable to understand where this young man's confidence came from. To rescue people from hundreds of thousands of savage blood wolves, tens of thousands of blood silver wolves, and an even more terrifying Moonwolf King. What kind of strength would that require? Saint tier, that was the only answer. But in the entire human world, there were only 4 such individuals, and each of them held extremely high status. Would they really come save a few mercenary groups? Impossible. So they just smiled it off, not taking it seriously. Seeing their expressions, Liu Fang naturally understood what they were thinking. He smiled slightly and didn't explain. If it really came to that moment, even if it caused trouble, he would have no choice but to let Xiao Jin take action. Thinking of this, Liu Fang gently touched his abdomen, that place where resided an unbelievably powerful Chinese divine dragon. Hey, Xiao Fang, looks like we're in for bad luck this time, haha. A loud voice came from behind, making black lines appear on Liu Fang's forehead. Without turning around, he already knew who else could say something like that at a time like this. Taking a deep breath to suppress his frustration, Liu Fang suddenly felt admiration for his leader. How had he managed to survive so long under this dwarf's influence? Turning around, he gritted his teeth and said fiercely, Shorty, wasn't this mission accepted by you? The smiling Bardus froze, chuckled awkwardly, scratched his head, and retreated without daring to speak again. Hiran smiled gently and stepped forward, looking at the countless wolves in the distance with concern. Xiao Feng, can we solve this situation? Liu Feng shrugged and smiled. I don't know, let's see, but you'll survive, safely. The calm wolf pack suddenly stirred. A world-shaking howl echoed from far away. Wherever the howl passed, all wolves lowered their heads, letting out fearful whimpers. Even the usually arrogant blood silver wolves slightly bent their front legs, not daring to oppose it. As the howl grew closer, everyone gradually saw clearly. A 3-meter-tall, moonlit giant wolf flashing rapidly across the grassland. So it really is the Moonwolf King. What incredible speed! Liu Fang sighed in amazement. From the moment the Moonwolf King appeared, no one's expression looked any better. With elegant steps, the Moonwolf King slowly walked to the front of the wolf pack. Wherever it passed, the wolves stepped aside, showing utmost respect to their king. The Moon Wolf King cast its gaze towards the humans in the camp, slightly opening his massive jaws. "Humans, hand over the young Moon Wolf, and I will spare your lives. Otherwise..." Cold human language came from the Moon Wolf King's mouth, echoing throughout the camp. Everyone was stunned. That the Moon Wolf King could speak human language was shocking, but even more shocking was its voice. Sounded like that of a coquettish young girl, beautiful and captivating. Thinking this, everyone suddenly shook their heads violently. What nonsense! How could a wolf's voice sound so pleasant? Liu Feng was briefly surprised, but quickly recovered. A magical beast that could speak human language wasn't new to him. In the Forest of Death, those super magical beasts could all do it, and Kuya Tower could even transform into human form. Turning his head, he noticed the three commanders signaling him to respond. Rolling his eyes helplessly, Liu Feng inwardly expressed deep disgust for these supposedly tough men. With a leap, his figure floated out of the camp. He clasped his fists and cleared his throat. "May I ask, Miss Moon Wolf King, how exactly have we offended you to warrant such a large-scale attack?" Liu Feng struggled a bit with how to address her. "Human, you are strong, but if you do not hand over the young Moon Wolf, none of you will leave the grassland alive." The Moon Wolf King glanced at him, sensing a hint of danger from this young man, and spoke calmly. Liu Feng smiled bitterly. The conversation had barely begun, yet already hit a dead end. The Moon Wolf King suddenly moved. Light burst from her body, and her massive form rapidly shrank within the glow. A small figure gradually appeared within the glow. As the glow faded, a woman stretched lazily, her graceful figure faintly visible within the lingering light. Her voice, lazy and alluring, rang out. "Ah, it's been so many years since I've used a human body." On the grassland, even the wind seemed to pause for this enchantingly seductive woman. Liu Feng took a deep breath, suppressing the amazement in his heart and forcing himself to maintain a calm expression. Behind him came the sound of jaws dropping to the ground. Liu Feng couldn't help but shake his head with a bitter smile. But he couldn't blame them. The woman before them, or rather the wolf woman, was indeed enchanting to the extreme. When wildness and noble elegance were perfectly combined, she could drive an entire world into madness. Her long, explosive, beautifully toned legs were full of wild charm. Her silver hair shimmered dazzlingly under the moonlight. A moon-white wolf fur robe gently covered her delicate, tempting body. Her flawless, exquisite face radiated a natural charm and nobility. Her rosy lips curved into a proud smile, as if looking down upon all living beings. "Humans, you still care so much about appearances." The Moon Wolf King smiled beautifully, her jade-like fingers lightly brushing across her face. The dazzling moonlight itself seemed overshadowed by her breathtaking smile. Liu Feng's mind trembled, his heart pounding uncontrollably. He bit down hard on his tongue. The sharp pain drove away all distracting thoughts. Letting out a bitter laugh, he knew that if he continued talking to her in this state, he might be completely captivated. His eyelids slowly closed, his mind sinking into calmed clarity. Then, suddenly, he opened his eyes. His heart turned cold, viewing all things as insignificant. The unfamiliar gaze vanished, replaced by icy clarity. "Miss Moonwolf, we don't know what you're talking about. Please allow us to leave." The Moon Wolf King was slightly startled. A trace of surprise appeared on her beautiful face. She hadn't expected this young man to break free from her charm. That alone made him far stronger than ordinary Star Mag's fighters. Covering her lips with her hand, she chuckled softly. "Little one, there's no need to brush me off like that. Our wolf clan has its own methods of tracking. From my sensing, the next Moon Wolf King is right there." Her slender finger pointed toward the tightly sealed carriage in the camp. Liu Feng's heart skipped a beat as he cursed inwardly. As expected, damn it. The Moon Wolf King smiled and stepped forward. As she walked, the moon-white wolf fur robe revealed glimpses of her body, large patches of pale skin exposed. Clearly, that robe was the only thing she wore. Inside the camp, several people nearly spat blood. Blood Wolf and Violent Steel awkwardly rubbed their noses, while Death Prisoner wisely turned his gaze toward the moon in the sky. As for Liu Feng, in his current state, he completely ignored the stunning sight. As the Moon Wolf's King approached, he began stepping backwards. Because in his mind, this woman was extremely dangerous. As long as he kept a distance of 10 steps, he was confident he could handle anything she did. So distance had to be maintained, the farther the better. Seeing him retreat, the Moon Wolf King frowned slightly. "Are you afraid of me?" Liu Feng honestly nodded. Yes, because if you take one more step forward, we'll have to fight. She froze for a moment, not expecting her intention to be seen through so easily. She shot him a fierce glare and raised her slender white arm, pointing toward the carriage. Are you handing it over or not? If you do, I'll let you leave, and won't pursue the matter of stealing my people, but you must hand over the thief. If not, then we fight. The hundreds of thousands of wolves behind me are more than enough to wipe you out. Liu Feng fell silent. The camp fell silent. The Moon Wolf King stared at him in silence. Under her lead, even the wolf pack fell silent. After a long while, Liu Feng sighed. This isn't something I can decide, but I have a suggestion. Would you hear it? Her expression turned cold. I don't care about your suggestions. The young moon wolf must be returned. Otherwise, I don't mind leading my wolves to attack human nations. Seeing his goodwill rejected, Liu Feng grew irritated and sneered. Do you think I'm an idiot? If you dare lead your wolves out of the grasslands, Saint Tier expects will personally act and wipe out your entire clan. The Moon Wolf King smiled faintly. And do you think our wolf clan has no Saint Tier experts? We've survived on the Beastman grasslands for thousands of years. Do you think that's just luck? Liu Feng was startled, then quickly understood. Creatures like the savage blood wolves were disasters. Powerful humans would have eliminated them long ago if they could. Since the wolf clan still existed, they must have something even Saint Tier experts feared. And what could make a Saint Tier expert wary other than another Saint Tier being? Little one, she chuckled, this continent is far more complex than you think. Being mocked by such a beautiful woman made Liu Feng's face redden slightly. After a moment, he regained his composure. We have things you fear too, he smiled lightly. You want a living moonwolf, not a dead one. Using the cub to threaten you may be despicable, but for my companions, I have no choice. You may be able to wipe us all out, but I can guarantee that the moonwolf you get will only be a corpse. The Moon Wolf King's smile turned colder and colder, as if frost were forming. Humans are indeed despicable. No matter how time changes, you remain shameless. Liu Feng could only accept the insult silently. Fine, tell me your suggestion. I'll consider it, but don't test my limits. That won't end well for you. Though furious, her chest rising and falling, she compromised for the sake of the cub's safety. Let us leave the Beastman grasslands first. When we reach the border, we'll return the cub. How about that? Liu Feng carefully chose his words. She immediately rejected it. You think we're fools? Human treachery is world famous. You expect me to trust you? Dream on. Can't you come up with something more constructive? Liu Feng grew angry. That won't work? Then what do you want? Hand over the cub and the thief, and I'll let you go. Impossible. We won't hand over the thief, and the cub will only be returned after we leave the grasslands. So that's a no? Neither side was willing to yield. Both had concerns, and neither dared break negotiations outright. Their throats were growing dry. The Moon Wolf King stomped her foot and said irritably, Can't you take a step back? Liu Feng curled his lips. Big sister, do you think this is a game? One step back means people die. Her eyes suddenly lit up and she smiled charmingly. I have an idea. Let's see if you can accept it. Say it. Let's have a contest. Whoever wins decides. Liu Feng was already tired of the pointless back and forth. Hearing this, he was tempted, but this decision affected everyone. I need to go back and discuss it with my companions first. Is that okay? Go. A grown man get less decisive than a woman. I hate that kind of man. The Moon Wolf King frowned impatiently and waved her hand dismissively. So that's the situation. What do you all think we should do? Liu Feng spread his hands and looked at the few leaders around him. A brief silence followed. Blood Wolf was the first to break it. I don't think anyone here can defeat you in terms of strength, so agreed. Violent Steel and Death Prisoner both nodded. Everyone's gaze shifted to Hua An, who had remained silent. Must we really hand over the young moon wolf? Even now, Hua An was unwilling to give up. Liu Feng frowned, clearly displeased. You still want to keep it? The wolves outside will never let you take it out of the grasslands. Besides, we've already suffered enough because of your mission. What more do you want? The fact that we haven't thrown you out to them is more than enough mercy. His rapid words revealed his anger. Hua An smiled awkwardly, rubbing his hands nervously. Well, Master Hua An, give us an answer, Blood Wolf said from the side. Hua An's old face twisted bitterly. After a long while, he finally nodded unwillingly. Looks like I have to go back to being a hired thug again. What a hard life. Liu Fang's muttered complaint drew knowing smiles from everyone. What about it? Have you decided? Leaning lazily against a giant wolf, the Moon Wolf King asked casually. Liu Fang nodded. I'll be your opponent. Looks like the useless ones inside aren't worth my effort. The Moon Wolf King pointed towards the camp, tilting her head slightly, a trace of confusion in her eyes. For some reason, I sense a faint but dangerous aura from you. Care to explain? Liu Fang's heart skipped a beat. She was probably referring to Xiao Jin inside him. He didn't expect her perception to be so sharp. Though shocked inside, he showed nothing on his face and scratched his head confusedly. What are you talking about? Dangerous aura? I don't know. The Moon Wolf King frowned slightly, beginning to doubt her own senses. With a wave of her hand, the surrounding wolves quickly retreated, although they still encircled the camp from afar. Stretching lazily, her graceful and alluring figure was fully displayed before Liu Fang. It's been many years since I fought a human. I am quite looking forward to it. Don't disappoint me. She winked playfully. The sight and her charm struck Liu Fang hard. He took a deep breath and silently recited in his heart, calm as ice, unmoved by heaven's collapse. Calm as ice. Damn it, this woman is too seductive. Even Fei Yi can't compare. After a while, he finally drove away all distracting thoughts and returned to a combat-ready state. With some frustration, he said, Miss Moon Wolf King, if we're going to fight, then fight. You don't need to test my self-control. She laughed softly, waving her jade-like arm. You're quite interesting, but I'm making my move now. Before her words even finished, her right foot tapped the ground, turning into an afterimage as she rushed towards Liu Fang. Feeling the pressure from her approaching figure, Liu Fang didn't dare slack off. A ruler who had dominated the Beastmen grasslands for so many years could not be weak. He shifted slightly, narrowly dodging. Her small white fists tore through the air, grazing his clothes. The force of the strike made his skin sting. Liu Fang's lips twitched slightly as his fingers brushed his spatial ring. A heavy sword appeared in his hand. The sword was the soul of a swordsman. The moment it entered his grip, his aura surged dramatically. With a powerful swing, he slashed towards the beauty before him. Seeing this, the Moon Wolf King let out a soft complaint. What a lack of gentlemanly grace. Though she said that, her movements were just as fierce. Her shoulder trembled slightly, and the wolf fur cloak on her body suddenly stood upright, wrapping around the heavy sword. Liu Fang frowned. He hadn't expected even decorative fur to be used as a weapon. He twisted the blade, trying to cut through it. Screech! Sparks flew, but the fur remained intact. She laughed lightly. This isn't ordinary wolf fur. Your broken sword can't cut it. At the same time, her foot traced a strange arc through the air, kicking toward Liu Fang's neck. Oh, is that so? Liu Fang smiled. He blocked her foot and infused his sword with inner energy. Sword energy burst forth. Sensing the sudden sharpness of the blade, the Moon Wolf King was startled and tried to retract her cloak. But Liu Fang didn't give her the chance. The sword energy flashed. Rip! The moon-white cloak split cleanly in two. She stared in shock. Liu Fang reached out, grabbing half of the cloak with a grin. The Moon Wolf King flushed slightly in anger. White light flickered in her hands. Moments later, the light faded. Two delicate daggers appeared, spinning playfully in her hands. Let's see if you can cut through my moon blades this time. Liu Fang teased lightly. These aren't your teeth, are they? Her face changed. You bastard! My teeth would be enough to kill you. The dagger shot forward. Liu Fang smiled faintly, his heavy sword moving constantly, blocking, slashing, deflecting, keeping the twin daggers at bay like venomous snakes. The two figures flickered across the grassland. No clear forms could be seen, only the sound of clashing weapons echoed. Back in the camp, everyone stared blankly at the occasional flashes of movement. Bloodwolf smiled bitterly. I didn't expect this kid to be this strong. When he fought us, he must have held back a lot. Violent Steel and Death Prisoner nodded gloomily. The gap between Star Tier and the 8th rank really wasn't something numbers alone could overcome. Liu Fang blocked a dagger strike aimed at his eyes and was about to counterattack when his heart suddenly tightened. The Moon Wolf King suddenly closed the distance, pressing into his arms, her breath warm as she laughed softly. You've slipped up, little one. Her slender elbow struck fiercely into his chest. Liu Fang groaned, forcing down a mouthful of blood rising to his throat. Though she landed the blow, her chest was momentarily exposed. His left hand shot out instinctively, pressing against her soft, full body. Her face flushed red as she quickly retreated, shouting, Pervert! Liu Fang wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and smiled. Likewise. Liu Fang shrugged as if nothing had happened. At the edge between life and death, who had time to worry about being called a pervert or not? Still, That feeling wasn't bad. A slight ripple passed through his mind as the soft sensation from earlier resurfaced in his palm. Though his thoughts wandered, his face revealed nothing. Otherwise, he wasn't sure whether the wolf woman before him would fly into a rage and slaughter the entire camp. Inside the camp, the sound of people swallowing filled the air. So lucky. This was everyone's shared thought. If Liu Feng knew, he'd probably cough up blood on the spot. The Moon Wolf King's face was still slightly flushed, making her even more breathtaking. Her soul-stirring eyes were fixed firmly on Liu Feng. Liu Feng's gaze wandered restlessly, not daring to meet her eyes, because he knew if he locked eyes with her, he might not be able to look away. And this seemingly beautiful woman was still a wolf at heart, a ferocious one. The Moon Wolf King frowned slightly and said in a coquettish tone, "Why don't you dare look at me? Am I ugly?" Her voice was soft and enchanting, like a lover acting spoiled, almost intoxicating, but the cold glint in her eyes slightly diminished the perfection. Liu Feng's heart pounded violently. He quickly shifted his gaze downward, only to see her small, delicate feet, her neatly arranged toes, strangely adorable. How the hell am I supposed to fight like this? Not knowing where to even rest his eyes, Liu Feng sighed to the sky in frustration. The Moon Wolf King gently stroked the torn wolf fur cloak, her lips pouting slightly, though the coldness in her eyes deepened. Moon Howl Frenzy. She suddenly leapt back over 100 meters and raised her head toward the full moon, letting out a sharp cry. As her cry echoed, the surrounding wolves responded with howls. The combined sound shook the heavens. As more and more wolves joined in, the howling spread across the entire grassland. Countless powerful beings were alerted. Liu Feng's brown frowned, staring intently at the distant figure. He could feel her aura rapidly rising, approaching that legendary realm. Feeling her surging power, Liu Feng's fighting spirit exploded. I really want to see how strong I'll be after using Gale Step and unleashing 8 consecutive strikes. The full moon suddenly cast down a pillar of silver light, enveloping the Moon Wolf King completely. A powerful pressure radiated from within. The pillar shot into the sky, visible for miles. Countless experts were shocked. Voices of astonishment echoed across the grassland. Isn't that the Moon Wolf King's Moon Howl Frenzy? What kind of opponent forced her to this level? That damn woman hopes she doesn't come back alive. Liu Feng's body trembled slightly as silver-white energy surged out surrounding him. His eyes remained locked on the pillar of light. Inside the camp, countless eyes stared as well. After a long while, the silver light gradually faded. Her graceful figure became visible. Finally, the light completely dissipated. Her appearance hadn't changed, still that perfect fusion of wildness and nobility. Only now, her silver hair had grown from waist length to trailing on the ground. The torn cloak had also fully restored. The Moon Wolf King stepped lightly into the air, rising above the ground. "Human, you've managed to push me this far. Tell me, what is your name?" Feeling the immense pressure from her, Liu Feng nodded solemnly. "Liu Feng." "Liu Feng? I'm quite curious. Who is your master to train such a powerful disciple?" Liu Feng tilted his head, blinking, then smiled. "My master thought I was too stupid and kicked me out. He warned me not to reveal his name, afraid I'd tarnish his reputation, so I can't say. He didn't claim to be self-taught. No one would believe that. Better to fabricate a mysterious master, making others wary. After all, if the disciple was the strong, how powerful must the master be? Anyone would think that way. As for being exposed, the world was vast. Who could say such reclusive experts didn't exist? The Moon Wolf King was clearly annoyed by his evasive answer, but she didn't dare kill him outright. At most, she would teach him a lesson. She brushed aside a strand of silver hair and smiled lightly. "Liu Feng, we haven't finished our fight yet. Do you still dare continue? If not, return the cub." Liu Feng's eyes lit up. "Why wouldn't I? No matter what, I'll accompany you." She smiled satisfied. "Such spirit. I quite like you. Don't disappoint me." Liu Feng sighed inwardly. "I really can't afford that kind of liking." He raised his heavy sword, pointing it toward her. "Moon Wolf King, please." She smiled faintly. "You're quite polite." Her figure suddenly vanished, leaving behind a lingering afterimage of beauty in the air. Liu Feng's eyelids lifted slightly. Without turning, he swung his sword backward. A strand of silver hair shot out from behind him, clashing against the blade with metallic sounds. Ambushes are really a woman's favorite trick. Liu Feng smiled as he looked at her. The Moon Wolf King smiled sweetly and nodded. "The more beautiful the woman, the more she loves ambushes. Remember that, little one. Consider it a lesson." Liu Feng chuckled and nodded. His sword flashed with energy as he slashed toward her again. You tricky little one. She stepped lightly in the air, retreating several meters to avoid the attack. Her graceful figure floated in midair, silver hair dancing in the wind. Combined with her beauty, she looked like a celestial angel descending upon the mortal world. After using Moon Howl Frenzy, the Moon Wolf King's strength surged dramatically. Liu Feng could no longer fight as effortlessly as he did at the beginning. He tilted his body to dodge what seemed like a gentle strike. His heavy sword, infused with sword energy, slashed down without mercy. Judging by the force behind it, if it hit, that snow-white figure would not remain intact. A strain of silver-white hair suddenly appeared out of nowhere, tightly wrapping around the heavy sword. Liu Feng pulled hard, but the seemingly fragile hair didn't move at all. From behind, a chilling force struck toward him, trying to force him to drop the sword. Mirror image. His body flickered slightly, and a figure silently appeared from the void behind him. It quickly drew another heavy sword from the spatial ring and swung backward. The mirror image caught it in reverse grip, standing back to back with Liu Feng, their swords crossing. Clang. Metal collided, sparks flying. The Moon Wolf King's beautiful pupils shrank sharply. She quickly retreated, her silver hair retracting just as fast. Liu Feng waved his hand, grinning as he glanced at the mirror image. What is that? The Moon Wolf King stared at it for a long moment before asking hesitantly. Mirror image? He, Liu Feng replied honestly. Nonsense. Since when does a mirror image have attack power? Do I look like an idiot? She snapped angrily. Believe it or not, Liu Feng shrugged indifferently. I refuse to believe your little trick is anything special. She stomped lightly in the air, snorting coldly. Her silver hair whipped forward again, carrying tremendous force as it tore through the air. Liu Feng laughed lightly and shouted, Brother, go! The mirror image moved instantly. It flashed forward together with Liu Feng. Two heavy swords gleamed with sword energy, perfectly synchronizing in midair. They sliced apart every incoming strand of silver hair. One in front, one behind, one above, one below, they formed a perfect defensive circle, impenetrable even to one strand. The Moon Wolf King moved rapidly through the air, her silver hair dancing wildly, weaving into countless strange shapes as it coiled toward them. Facing the overwhelming net of steel-like hair, Liu Feng and his mirror image chose to defend. Their figures overlapped and flashed continuously, forming a perfect circular sword barrier. Let him be strong, the breeze brushes the mountain ridge. Let him be fierce, the bright moon shines over the great river. Broken strands of hair drifted down like falling snow, yet no one forgot. Just moments ago, those strands had been deadly weapons. Seeing her severed hair, the Moon Wolf King's eyes revealed a trace of pain. A cold light flickered within them. She lowered her head slightly, retracting all her silver hair. Looking at the uneven strands, anger surged within her. She glared fiercely at Liu Feng and shifted her hands. The two snow-white fang daggers reappeared in her palms. Gripping them lightly, she slowly closed her eyes. Liu Feng frowned, puzzled, but remained on guard. The surrounding air seemed to freeze. The space within 3 meters of her body began to ripple faintly. Liu Feng's gaze sharpened. Channeling his energy, he flicked a blade of grass toward her. The grass shot forward like a green streak, but the moment it entered that 3-meter space, it was instantly torn apart by the violent energy within. Liu Feng was shocked. Though the grass itself was fragile, the energy he infused in it made it comparable to his heavy sword, yet it was still torn apart. Just how powerful was that force? Her closed eyes suddenly opened. A flash of starlight shot out, then quickly vanished. Feeling the immense energy around her, the Moon Wolf King let out a satisfied laugh. Her delicate hand waved gently, making ripples in space. Little one, have you ever witnessed the power of the saint rank? She blinked proudly at Liu Feng, and a terrifying aura burst from her body, tearing apart clouds hundreds of meters above. The immense pressure forced Liu Feng's legs to bend slightly. His inner energy surged wildly, and within his dantian, the swirling vortex spun rapidly, releasing waves of power. A pale white aura around him grew thicker and thicker until it completely engulfed him. The pressure vanished. He glanced at his mirror image, which showed no reaction at all, and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Straightening up, he pointed his sword at her and laughed loudly. Moon Wolf King, don't try to scare me. Your power is nothing in front of my master. Besides, you can only borrow the energy within 3 meters of yourself. Compared to a true saint, you're far from it. She was slightly startled. She couldn't tell how much of what he said was true, but the fact that he accurately pointed out her condition surprised her. She smiled lightly. Not bad. I can only borrow this much power, but to deal with you, it's more than enough. Her body flickered. She transformed into a streak of light and shot toward Liu Feng. Her speed shocked him. He tried to dodge, but she was too fast. Bang! A dull sound echoed. Liu Feng was sent flying across the ground for over 10 meters. Pluff! He finally spat out a mouthful of blood. The Moon Wolf King smiled faintly, maintaining her palm strike posture. Now do you understand the gap between star rank and saint rank? At that moment, the mirror image suddenly attacked. Its sword slashed toward her neck. I really want to see how strong your mirror image is compared to you. She lightly blocked with her dagger, laughing softly. Liu Thing climbed back up, wiping the blood from his lips, his face dark. His energy circulated through his chest, easing the internal damage. He turned his gaze toward the battle between the mirror image and the Moon Wolf King. She clearly underestimated it at first and was briefly pushed back by its fierce attacks, but she was currently in a pseudo-saint state. Very quickly, she regained the upper hand, and she had no intention of holding back. Her strikes were ruthless, each aimed at vital points. The mirror image remained expressionless, continuously blocking, but the gap in strength was too great. It couldn't last long. Finally, seizing an opening, the Moon Wolf King's dagger slashed across its neck. Just as the mirror image snapped, Liu Thang's lips curled slightly. Try my 16-strike combo. Gale Step, activate. The Moon Wolf King tossed her silver hair lightly, clapped her small hands, and laughed charmingly. What a powerful mirror image, but you still lost. Tilting her head, she looked toward Lu Feng in the distance, her lips curling in satisfaction. Lu Feng's lips lifted slightly into a strange smile. Really? Seeing his expression, the Moon Wolf King frowned. Just as she was about to speak, her pupils suddenly shrank. The Lu Feng standing in place was gradually becoming transparent, yet that eerie smile remained. A chill ran through her heart. After image? Her body trembled slightly. The 3-meter space around her began to ripple intensely. From the faint flush on her face, it was clear she was pushing the surrounding energy to its limit. She stood motionless in midair, not daring to act rashly. Her senses spread outward, searching frantically for Lu Feng's true position. The grassland fell into silence. Inside the camp, everyone held their breath, staring intently at the battlefield. Her pupils, driven to the extreme, turned completely silver white. Suddenly, a powerful force struck from behind. She spun instantly, her twin daggers dancing rapidly, leaving streaks in the air as they collided with the incoming objects. Feeling the solid contact, she frowned and looked closely. It was a heavy sword, but there was no one holding it. Damn, I've been tricked. Her heart jolted. At that moment, a terrifying force descended from above. She glanced upward, but saw nothing. Yet the immense pressure was rapidly approaching. What the hell is this? Feeling the overwhelming power, she dared not hesitate. Her hands moved rapidly, gathering the energy within her 3-meter domain. Above her head, a thin, multicolored energy barrier formed. Though it looked fragile, she trusted it deeply. Yet, a strange thought surfaced. Not enough. Add more. Still more. In the end, she followed that instinct. She poured all her power into the barrier. The multicolored film thickened noticeably. She let out a breath. Her face turned pale. She'd reached her limit. Looking up at the invisible force that made even her instinctively want to flee, her eyes flickered. Lu Feng watched the barrier grow closer and sneered inwardly. You think that's enough? Stepping into the air, he suddenly appeared above it. 8-fold strike. The heavy sword came crashing down with unstoppable force. Where the blade passed, space itself shattered, revealing dark cracks. The air warped violently. The Moon Wolf King's face filled with shock. She hadn't expected this attack to reach such a terrifying level. Even a true saint probably wouldn't dare take this head on. Fear surged within her. She tried to dodge, but the immense force had locked the surrounding space. Her face turned pale. All she could do now was hope her defense would hold. Lu Feng himself was far from calm. Shockwaves surged in his heart. He hadn't expected that combining Gale Step's doubling effect with an 8-fold strike would produce such terrifying power. This was no longer a simple stacking of strength. At the moment he swung the sword, he felt as if it had broken through some barrier, and his aura had surged to an unimaginable level. He exhaled softly. Even his breath shattered fragments of broken space. A thought suddenly rose in his mind. To contend with all the heroes of the continent. With that thought came an overwhelming surge of pride. The heavy sword finally struck the multicolored barrier. Puffed! A soft sound. The Moon Wolf King's last hope shattered instantly. Her full power defense was destroyed the moment it made contact. The sword continued downward mercilessly, aiming to cut her down completely. Seeing the unstoppable blade, a trace of sorrow appeared on her face. Lu Feng saw it clearly and sighed bitterly inwardly. Sorry, this damn sword isn't listening to me. Indeed, from the moment he swung it, the sword had left his control. The power was simply too great. He couldn't control it yet. The sword, wrapped in terrifying energy, slashed toward her neck in an instant. A scene of blood and beauty seemed about to unfold in the sky. Lu Feng tried with all his might to regain control. If he truly killed her, he would become an enemy of the entire wolf clan. And according to her, there were ancient, terrifying beings among them. This wasn't fear. It was caution. But the once obedient sword now felt like a maddened beast. No matter how he tried, it wouldn't respond. He sighed helplessly, a trace of apology in his eyes. Little friend, stop!
An old voice thundered through the sky. Hearing this, hope flashed in her despairing eyes. Lu Feng grinned helplessly. You think I don't want to stop? I can't! Just as the sword was less than half an inch from her neck, a vast force tore through the air. The entire space froze. Everything within it stopped. The sword halted in place. A white figure flashed into the frozen space, grabbed the Moon Wolf King, and vanished instantly. As soon as she was rescued, the frozen space returned to normal. Lu Feng shouted, Go! The heavy sword shot downward with a piercing howl. Boom! A massive explosion erupted upon impact. Grass and sand were blasted into the sky. When the dust settled, a huge crater appeared before everyone, pitch black, bottomless. Inside the camp, everyone gasped in shock. The spatial freeze had lasted for a moment, except for the three captains and the shadowy figure hidden in darkness who sensed something. Everyone else noticed nothing.
Lu Feng narrowed his eyes and looked over. In midair, an old man in a white robe stood suspended, holding the Moon Wolf King. At this moment, there was a trace of anger on the old man's aged face. Young friend, this was only a spar. There was no need to strike so ruthlessly, was there? Lu Feng rubbed his hands awkwardly and forced a smile. Oh, well, Senior, that wasn't really my fault just now. I couldn't control that power. Hearing this, the old man's anger subsided slightly. Behind him, the Moon Wolf King revealed her face and glared fiercely at Lu Feng, her lips slightly parted. Lu Feng could only smile bitterly. They say women are the most vengeful creatures. Seems true enough. He could clearly read her silent message. Just you wait. ... Young friend, may I ask, who is your master? The old man suddenly asked. Sorry, Senior. My master repeatedly warned me not to reveal his name when I left, so please forgive me. Lu Feng smiled politely. Oh, no matter. Those experts always have their peculiarities. The old man waved his hand casually. Uncle Bai, why are you here? The proud Moon Wolf King now acted like a young girl, grabbing his sleeve and speaking coquettishly. I sensed from afar that you were using Moon Howl Frenzy again. How could I not worry, so I rushed over. The old man shook his head helplessly and gently tapped her nose with affection. The Moon Wolf King giggled. I knew Uncle Bai cares about me the most, much better than my cold father. The old man stroked his beard and chuckled. Your father cares about you too. Don't blame him anymore. She pouted slightly, clearly unwilling to continue the topic, then pointed toward the camp. Uncle Bai, they captured the young moon wolf. Hurry and rescue it. Oh, the old man raised his brows and turned his gaze to Lu Feng. Young friend, could you return the young moon wolf to us? Lu Feng's heart tightened. After a moment of silence, he carefully replied, Senior, can we return it, but can you guarantee our safe passage across the grasslands? The old man smiled. That I can decide. Beside him, the Moon Wolf King stopped lightly in midair, clearly annoyed at being ignored. Then could you withdraw the wolf pack now? After they retreat for half a month, I will return the cub. Is that acceptable? Lu Feng proposed. The old man agreed with a smile. He gently waved his sleeve in the air. A silent wave spread downward, reaching the wolves below. After receiving the signal, the wolves slowly stood and let out a howl toward the sky. Then, like a tide, they retreated deep into the grasslands. Seeing this, the camp erupted in cheers. ... Young friend, is that acceptable now? Half a month passed in the blink of an eye, the old man asked with a smile. Lu Feng nodded and bowed slightly. Rest assured, Senior, I'll go retrieve the young moon wolf now. The old man nodded satisfactorily. ... Back at the camp, Lu Feng received a hero's welcome. Everyone looked at him with burning admiration. Defeating the Moon Wolf King, driving back 10,000 wolves. Such glory stirred the hearts of all the mercenaries. Blood Wolf slapped his shoulder and laughed loudly. Ah, kid, you actually defeated the legendary Moon Wolf King. Damn impressive. Violent Steel gave a big thumbs up. Death Prisoner nodded slightly. Lu Feng shrugged and smiled. I still lost in a way. Didn't you see that old man? He's a true saint. The three were shocked and instinctively looked toward the white-robed elder in the sky. A saint. We heard about such powerful beings beyond the region. Now we finally see it's true. Violent Steel sighed heavily. Lu Feng nodded in agreement. He recalled the Moon Wolf King's earlier words. This world is vast. It really is vast, but one day I'll go out and explore it. A faint smile appeared on his lips as he set a grand goal for himself. He walked over to Hua An, who looked somewhat excited. Manager Huan, hand over the young moon wolf. Hua An froze. Didn't you win? Why give it back?
Hearing the implication, Lu Feng took a deep breath to suppress his anger and pointed into the distance. Then send your shadow assassin to fight them. That old man is a saint. A saint. One person like him could wipe us all out. His shout shook Hua An, leaving him unsteady. Seeing his defeated state, Lu Feng felt a brief softness, but it quickly vanished, replaced by anger over the mercenaries who died because of him. Hua An waved his hand weakly and tossed him a key. Sigh, go, go, it's all my greed. Lu Feng ignored him, grabbed the key, and rushed off. ... Senior, here is the young moon wolf, completely unharmed. Lu Feng handed it over. The moon wolf king quickly stepped forward and carefully took it into her arms. A fragrant breeze brushed past him. Lu Feng took a deep breath and smiled at her. Miss Moon Wolf King, you're truly beautiful. She glared at him fiercely while gently stroking the cub. Beautiful? Then why were you so rootless earlier? Not gentlemanly at all. What kind of man are you? Hearing the resentment in her tone, Lu Feng could only laugh bitterly. After all, he really had been too harsh. Well, if I hadn't gone all out, I probably wouldn't be standing here talking to you now. He shrugged helplessly. She glared at him again, her beauty dazzling, almost outshining the moon itself. As she gently stroked the cub, a soft maternal glow appeared on her face. Under the silver moonlight, she looked like an angel descended from heaven. A soft cough brought the slightly dazed Liu Feng back to his senses. He looked at the white-robed old man, who wore a half-smile, and couldn't help but feel a bit embarrassed. Cupping his hands, he said, "Senior, is there anything else?" The old man chuckled and stroked his beard. "Don't call me senior. If you don't mind, just call me Old Bai." Liu Feng was slightly startled. His impression of this saint-level expert improved greatly. He smiled lightly. "If Old Bai thinks so highly of me, then I will gladly comply." Old Bai nodded with a smile. "Xiao Feng, if you ever have time, you're welcome to visit our wolf clan in the Great Grasslands. We will warmly welcome you." Liu Feng quickly nodded. "If I have the chance, I will definitely come." "Xiao Feng, take this. With it, when you walk across the grasslands, those little wolves won't dare trouble you." Old Bai flipped his palm and handed over a silver token. On it was a carving of a moon wolf howling at the sky, vivid and lifelike. Liu Feng silently praised it, took it, and carefully stored it in his spatial ring. "Then we shall take our leave. You still have your mission. Xiao Yue, let's go." The Moon Wolf King passed by Liu Feng, leaving behind a faint, ethereal voice. "Boy, remember this well. I won't let you off." The fragrance faded, and the sky was empty once more. A slight smile curved Liu Feng's lips. "His king? Didn't expect she really is a queen, huh?" Number. More than a day had passed since Liu Feng's great battle with the Moon Wolf King. After surviving such danger, the convoy finally completed the last stretch of their journey safely. When the faint outline of a town appeared before them, smiles of relief spread across everyone's faces. "Finally done!" Bloodwolf laughed loudly, his grin wide. It seemed there was a sense of weight lifting from his laughter. It seemed that this journey had left a deep impression on the iron-willed man. Perhaps in his old age, he would one day tell his young grandson about the desperate situations he once faced, and about that mysterious black-haired, black-eyed young man. Number. Lord Liu Feng, 3 commanders. Lord Hua An invites you. The round-faced Chu Geng spoke with a smile. "Ha, Uncle Fatty, weren't you scared along the way?" Liu Feng patted his shoulder. "With you all here, it wasn't my turn to be afraid." "Not bad, old brother. You've got a good mindset." "Ha! Commanders, I truly must thank you for this journey." Hua An rubbed his hands and smiled. The 3 commanders still paid him little attention, so Liu Feng spoke instead. "You're too polite. We were just doing our job." Well, for the losses your group suffered, I will compensate double. Later, I will go to the mercenary branch in Peacetown and upgrade this mission to B rank, and your payment will be given in full." Hua An smiled ingratiatingly. The 3 commanders' expressions softened slightly. Bloodwolf cupped his hands. "In that case, I thank you on behalf of my fallen brothers." Hua An quickly waved his hands. No need. This is only what I should do." After a pause, he turned to Liu Feng. "Lord Liu Feng, your payments will also be doubled as promised. Please do not refuse." Seeing how tactful he was, Liu Feng nodded in satisfaction. Hua An's face lit up. Seizing the moment, he took out an exquisitely crafted crystal card. "Lord Liu Feng, this is a membership card of our Chamber of Commerce. With it, you can enjoy VIP privileges in all our affiliated stores. Please accept it." Liu Fang glanced at the card and immediately understood. So this was to win his favor. Judging from Hua An's seriousness, it was clearly quite valuable. For benefits that came easily, Liu Fang generally rarely refused. He smiled and accepted it. Seeing this, Hua An let out a deep sigh of relief. As long as Liu Fang accepted it, it meant he wasn't rejecting him entirely. Being able to befriend someone who had defeated the legendary Moonwolf King, though it might not offset the punishment for this mission, it would at least reduce it significantly. Peacetown finally came clearly into view. The group approached with tired steps but joyful hearts. The Hua Gold Merchant Guild was well known across the continent. Even in such a remote town, its emblem was recognized. Seeing the large family crest from afar, the guards quickly opened the city gates. The soldiers stood and watched, sighing inwardly. So many people, so much head tax we can't collect. What a pity. The convoy drew closer. The bloody era accumulated from countless wolf battles rushed forward. The inexperienced soldiers turned pale, their legs trembling. If it weren't for their spears supporting them, they might have collapsed. The massive convoy ignored them and passed straight through. If it were before, such arrogance would have earned the mercenaries a beating. But today, they were facing warriors who survived real slaughter, crawling out of piles of corpses. So the soldiers wisely kept silent. Inside Peacetown, a simple inn welcomed the exhausted mercenaries. Because they were not only physically tired, but mentally drained, the three commanders decided to rest for the night. Number. The next morning, Liu Fang, the three commanders, and Hua An went to the local mercenary guild to submit the mission. The town's branch was far less grand than the one in Sunset City. A wooden sign with the words Mercenary Guild hung above, swaying lightly. Inside, only a few mercenaries wandered about. Seeing Liu Fang and his group, clearly outsiders, many looked at them curiously. Ignoring them, Liu Fang and his group walked to the counter and gently tapped on the desk. If you want, I can make this sound more like a professionally published fantasy novel. Smoother, less literal.
Coming. What are you knocking for? Can't you see it's about to fall apart? An aged voice sounded from beneath the counter. A pair of veined, weathered hands slowly pushed up, followed by a deeply wrinkled old face. What is it? Outsider mercenaries? Looking at the frail old man before him, Liu Fang's eyes narrowed slightly. In a voice only the two of them could hear, he said softly, "An 8th rank expert working as a clerk. Does your mercenary guild have too many gaucho?" The old man's body trembled slightly. A flash of sharp light passed through his cloudy eyes, then quickly disappeared. "Heh, not bad, young one." He slowly lifted his drooping eyelids and looked straight at Liu Fang. Black hair, black eyes. Seems I've heard of that somewhere. Who was it? Why can't I remember? The old man muttered quietly, not bothering to hide it, and Liu Fang could hear every word. Liu Fang's body stiffened, his gaze locking tightly onto him. "May I ask, where did you hear of it?" "Black hair, black eyes. Your name is Liu Fang, isn't it?" As he repeated the words, the old man seemed to recall something and looked up weakly. Liu Fang nodded, already having a guess. "Sir, do you happen to know Sophie?" A faint, somewhat eerie smile appeared on the old man's face, revealing his few remaining teeth. He slowly nodded. "Very good, boy. Much better than those two brats in the family." Liu Fang's heart filled with joy. He hurriedly asked, "Then how is Sophie now? Can you tell me about her situation?" Yes," the old man nodded lightly. "But first we should finish your friend's mission." Liu Fang nodded repeatedly and pushed Hua An forward. Seeing Liu Fang's attitude toward the old man, Hua An didn't dare delay. He bowed slightly, handed over the mission scroll, and said respectfully, "Please, sir, help upgrade this mission's rank." The old man nodded, stretched out his dry, branch-like hand, took the scroll, and examined it carefully. "Oh, this mission. You encountered the Moonwolf King." Hua An froze and then smiled bitterly and nodded. It seems that the overwhelming aura released during Liu Fang's battle had already alerted nearby experts. Impressive. You met the Moonwolf King and still managed to come back alive." He shook his head lightly, sighing in amazement. His cloudy eyes glanced meaningfully at the black-haired young man. "All right, this qualifies for a B rank upgrade. Give me your group emblems." After some effort, the mission was successfully upgraded. Looking at the changed emblem, Liu Fang understood. The mercenary groups had leveled up. Seeing the slight joy on the three commanders' faces, Liu Fang clasped his hands. "Gentlemen, I have a favor to ask." The three were startled and quickly said they wouldn't dare refuse.
Brother Liu, just say it. With everything you've done for us, as long as it is within our ability, we won't decline it. Blood Wolf patted his chest confidently. Violent Steel and Death Prisoner nodded in agreement. Liu Fang smiled slightly. It's nothing major. After this mission, I may leave the Blazing Mercenary Group, so I hope that in the future, if they need help, you can look after them. Such a small matter, no need even to ask. We'll definitely take care of it. Then, many thanks. If you ever need anything, you can come to me. The three nodded excitedly. Having a powerful expert owe them a favor was something many people could only dream of.
When Liu Fang returned to the inn, it was already filled with noise and excitement. After learning that the mission had been upgraded, the mercenaries were extremely thrilled. According to the group's rules, the higher the mission rank, the greater the rewards for the members. So after such a grueling journey, everyone finally felt somewhat compensated. As soon as Liu Fang stepped in, a crowd was already rushing out. With quick hands, he grabbed a dwarf trying to hide behind someone and squinted at him. Well, if it isn't the brave dwarf bardess, where do you think you're going? The dwarf chuckled. Heh, we're going to celebrate the successful mission. Liu Fang rolled his eyes and let him know. Don't cause trouble, where are the others? They're ahead, they're even more impatient than me. I was planning to wait for you here. The dwarf grinned. Ugh, fine, let's go together. The group marched grandly toward a local tavern. Mercenaries' Home. A simple name that gave the mercenaries a sense of familiarity. They poured inside, quickly filling the already small tavern. Bloodwolf pushed through the crowd and came to Liu Fang's side. So, Brother Liu, everything settled? Knowing what he meant, Liu Fang nodded with a smile. Good, come on. Violent Steel and the others are inside. Let's have a few drinks. Without waiting, Bloodwolf dragged him in. Feeling the force on his arm, Liu Fang gave a bitter smile and turned back to shout, Dwarf, don't cause trouble or I won't go easy on you. The dwarf nodded repeatedly, though his eyes were already fixed on the wine. The three leaders had taken a central table, clearly a privilege of leadership. Seeing Liu Fang arrive, Violent Steel and Death Prisoners stood up to greet him respectfully. We've all been through life and death together. Do you really need to be so formal? Liu Fang's slightly dissatisfied tone broke the stiff atmosphere. Since defeating the Moon Wolf King, the three had been overly polite to him, which made him quite uncomfortable. This world's rules really mess people up, he sighed internally. Strength ruled everything. The strong were respected. The strong were worshipped. The three, naturally straightforward men, though they admired Liu Fang's strength, they weren't inflexible. Hearing his words, they understood. He truly regarded them as friends. Their hearts stirred. Bloodwolf flushed slightly, raised his cup and laughed. Heh, my fault for being too formal. Brother Liu, I'll drink first as a sign of respect. He drained it in one gulp. The other two followed suit. Liu Fang smiled and took a small sip. With the tension gone, conversation became lively. Even the usually quiet death prisoners spoke occasionally. Brother Liu, after this mission, the three of us have a plan. Bloodwolf hiccuped lightly and smiled. Oh? Liu Fang raised an eyebrow. We're planning to merge our mercenary groups into one, form a super large mercenary corps, and aim for an A-rank group. Violent Steel grinned as he explained. Merge? Liu Fang was surprised. Each of them are already B-rank groups. Combined, they would indeed have the strength to challenge an A-rank. The difference between A-rank and B-rank was like the gap between star tier and 8th rank experts. So far, there were only 4 A-rank mercenary groups in the entire world, each with tens of thousands of members. Suddenly, a thought flashed in Liu Fang's mind. That so-called 4 mercenary elites, wasn't one of them the leader of an A-rank group? Ah, right. Bai Ma. Yay. Liu Fang tossed his head. Hard to remember such insignificant names. Wasn't his father the leader of the Storm mercenary group? Then let me congratulate you in advance, the 5th A-rank mercenary group. Liu Fang smiled and clasped his hands. The three smiled bitterly. If only it were that easy. Why? Is there some difficulty? Liu Fang asked, puzzled. Bloodwolf cursed and took a big gulp of wine. Brother Liu, those 4 A-rank groups all have backing within the mercenary guild. You could say they are external forces of the guild. Liu Fang frowned. So to become an A-rank group, you must become affiliated with the guild. The three nodded helplessly. We don't mind that, Violent Steel said bitterly. The mercenary King Suhan is our lifelong idol, and being affiliated doesn't mean giving up control. It's just a name. Then what's the problem? They exchanged looks inside. We're afraid of choosing the wrong side. Liu Fang suddenly understood. They feared political struggle within the guild. After a moment, he smiled slightly. Brothers, do you know how many major factions there are in the mercenary guild, and which factions those 4 A-rank groups are belong to? Bloodwolf thought for a moment. There are 3 main factions. 2 of them are led by the commanders of the A-rank Remain Lion and Sky Splitter mercenary groups. He paused, his expression turning strange. And the third? Liu Fang raised an eyebrow. The third? Bloodwolf chuckled. The third is a woman, and an extremely beautiful one. A faint smile appeared on Liu Fang's lips. And not only beautiful, she's extremely ruthless. Bloodwolf smacked his lips in admiration.
From what I've heard, during the last guild's assembly, she used the most direct and brutal method to severely injure a rival and secure victory. However, among the three factions, she's the weakest. She has no direct subordinates, like the other two, who each control their own mercenary groups. Liu Feng swirled the red wine in his glass and smiled. Brothers, I have a suggestion. Want to hear it? The three leaned in eagerly. Join her faction. What do you think?